What's good people? This is your boy, Mr. Timothy D. Hall, and I'm coming back to you live with a little bit of words of wisdom. So I wanted to bring up this image real quick. I don't know if people seen this image, but this is one of those things where I've always been talking about. I always talk about, again, this is the devil's domain. The earth is the devil's domain. That's why you see so much negativity, hate, and all the other different type of stuff. And then the devil, the way that he works, he operates more so in an ego flash, and you know what I mean. So he has everything on the outside looking good, but the interior is just completely, nasty. And the devil literally is the narcissist. A devil is a narcissist in the sense that the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. What the narcissist does, the exact same type of thing. They're trying to destroy your life. They're trying to destroy your happiness, kill everything about you, kill and assassinate your character and stuff. In the same vein, just destruction. They want to bring down your life. This is a lot of qualities and characteristics of a narcissistic type of person, the manipulation, of this, to that, whatever, d. All these things are characteristics of the devil, but only and most other things that are associated with God or is complete opposite. Like God doesn't give you that manipulation; He gives you free will. He gives you a lot of different type of stuff. So it's two completely different things. And the devil's regime is really oppressive of the people that like are living under his regime in comparison to that of God. Like he uses fear to operate and control people, whereas God uses love to kind of like whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so it's a balance. It is a yin and yang and everything like that. But with all that being said, because it's the devil's domain, everything good in this world is seen as bad. That's why, we'll all hear something like, good people, they finish last, so good people, da 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 da, in comparison to bad people. Like the bad people seem like they're winning, and everything negative in this society is glorified. Anything positive is looked at. Like people think that you're crazy. People think that you're weird. People think that you da 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 when you are being who God told you to be. There's a lot of people out there like that because they're operating in ego. They're operating from the more so demonic flesh type of thing. But with all that being said, this image I think is extremely important because, again, one of the things that the devil does is I use it to coin the term purgatory truth, or the Kool-Aid method of manipulation. And what I mean with that is the purgatory truth. Again, purgatory. Again, I don't know if this is really real, but if you would think about this from the spiritual type of realm, where they talk about like you got heaven, then you got hell, you got black and white, and then in the middle is that purgatory. Where you don't necessarily go to hell, you don't go to heaven, whatever, it doesn't, whatever. But it's this purgatory. You're in the middle. You understand? You ain't did enough to get into heaven. You ain't do enough to get into hell just yet. They're trying to make sure that you're right for the job, that you can get into the heaven. We don't know. They got to check your credentials and everything like that to make sure that you're a good fit. So you're in this purgatory type of thing. You know what I mean? They're checking out all the other candidates and then they'll get back to you when they get a chance. It's kind of like what it is, purgatory. Well, with the purgatory truth, or even the Kool-Aid method, or the Kool-Aid method of manipulation is another one that, I talk about frequently. And what the Kool-Aid method is, again, if you think about Kool-Aid has a couple of components. It has sugar, it has the Kool-Aid packet, that salt or that concentrate that's inside that packet. I don't know what they call that, but it's like that dust inside the packet, the Kool-Aid. And then you got the water and stuff like that. Now, for most people, they understand the difference between like water, pure water, or just plain Kool-Aid, if that kind of makes sense. Like they understand that there's a spectrum of what, on one side, this Kool-Aid spectrum, there's no Kool-Aid whatsoever. It's just water. And on the other side, it's nothing but Kool-Aid. It's just that concentrated in that salt packet. And so it's only when you bring these two together that they actually make something that we all, know as Kool-Aid today. You know what I mean? Even though it comes in this little packet, we associate Kool-Aid more so, not necessarily, we might associate with that packet, but it's like a drink. It's a liquid, when in actuality, the product is a solid. But this is how we think about it, because that's how we interact with Kool-Aid a lot of times. But with this Kool-Aid method, you got to add just enough on both sides. Again, in this spectrum, people know what water tastes like, and they understand what that concentrate of the salt of that Kool-Aid tastes like. So if you were to take something, it's on this spectrum, this yin and this yang type of spectrum. If you were to take just a little bit of water and dab it into that Kool-Aid on the concentrate on the far left side, if you were to do that, it would still be like that tart to that it would be salt. It'll still be that concentrate inside that like when you first open up that packet, it'll still be just like that. But it's just got a little bit of water in it, and you can keep on adding and adding. It's getting to like little clumps and stuff like that. But for the most part, the concentrate of Kool-Aid is so strong that you don't need that much to make Kool-Aid. So what it is on one side, you got this extremely strong concentrate of Kool-Aid, and then on the other side you got water, and you typically use way more water than you ever would with Kool-Aid, because again, the Kool-Aid itself is a concentrate. It's just really, you know what I mean? It's really concentrated in one. That's why you got to dilute it. You got to put it into some water and dilute it and mix it around, and now it's a favorable thing. Most people don't like Kool-Aid if it's not mixed in water. So with all that being said, there's still a right amount that you have to put in there. Most people understand what Kool-Aid tastes like. In some people's palates, their palates are palatable to a degree, and in which they like a certain type of way. Some people like Kool-Aid cold. Some people like Kool-Aid with sugar, a lot of sugar. Some people, it's based on that person's palate. You know what I mean? Based on whatever the standards that they like. So with all that being said, you can add and add and add and add and add and add and add to get the desired result for the audience that you're talking about. You know what I mean? For the audience of the people that's going to be drinking that, you can get to a result of a certain result by adding in a certain percentage of Kool-Aid and a certain percentage of water. Now, why am I saying all that? Is because this is typically what happens. Is because now, what people will do in manipulation type of systems, again, a very narcissistic type of system, what they will do is they will introduce a little bit of the truth with a whole bunch of lies. And the reason being is because they have to do that in the sense that, like, they have to make the lie believable. If it wasn't believable and stuff like that, if they just told you a flat out lie, again, if they just gave you a cup of water and they said this is Kool-Aid, you're like, that's not Kool-Aid. On the same side, if you go to the concentrate, you pull up the packet of the concentrate, you try to give it to somebody, and again, they say, you say, oh yeah, this is Kool-Aid, and everybody like, nigga, that's not Kool-Aid. That's not what are you talking about? That's not Kool-Aid. But or the Kool-Aid that they want, and they want to, whatever. But it's so what people, again, manipulative type of people, what they have to do is take the two, mix them together, and then you got this drink that's suitable for whatever population that you. And again, people can be manipulate because, especially like if in a system, like I've been in systems where where you get isolated a lot of times. You get isolated on purpose. It's typically a perpetrator, manipulative type of person where they'll play both sides of the fence. You know what I mean? And then they will start to build a perception, in order to isolate you and to kind of keep you in a bubble, to make people think that you deserve whatever you're doing. What they would do is try to isolate you, and so they'll start speaking lies a lot of times. They'll start doing this, that, where they'll be doing a lot of stuff that's underhanded, conniving, and cunning. It's cunning, but they'll do a lot of different types of stuff like that. And their overall objective is to simply isolate you, and they'll pick at it over time. And when I mean pick at it over time, they typically got to convince people in little small ways at first. You know what I mean? They got to get into other people's ears. They just can't come out with a full brunt of lies and stuff like that. They gotta ease it. You know what I mean? Like they gotta say little sly remarks, like in passing, like this person just this person is don't I don't even know how you say it. Let me just think about it. Somebody coming to you, they'll say to somebody like this person's a little weird to me. I don't know. Like this, I mean, I love the person, but they a little weird. And then over time, they'll keep on ramping it up. Yeah, this person's a little weird. Oh, this person is really, really weird. You can't believe this is this. And then they'll, get even, they'll build up lies over time. And their overall objective, again, is equivalent to taking a pickaxe and chipping away at a mountain. You're not going to break it down eventually. And the mountain is the perception of how people see you or whatever it is. That's the mountain. And so the pickaxe is equivalent to the little sly remarks that they're making over time. Because over time, they will make a dent. They will make a hole in that mountain. And, with time, and a lot of force. So they'll build up the perception that a person is negative, stuff like that. They'll build it up over time. And again, it'll start off seemingly very innocent. And over time, because people don't understand it, the manipulative type of person is building up so they can now get everybody to turn against you. That's what they ultimately want. So they can isolate you and do whatever they need to do with you. You understand? And try to manipulate you. So and they'll show one face to you, but another face to everybody else. That's how they'll operate. So, but with that Kool-Aid method, the Kool-Aid rule, again, based on the population, based on whoever's getting this Kool-Aid, the manipulator has to serve it up in such a way that they can tell a whole bunch of lies and add in a little bit of truth. Because when you add in a little bit of truth with a whole bunch of lies, it seems as though everything is the truth. It seems as though somebody's telling you the truth. So that, again, if in the situation, if somebody's trying to be isolate, a manipulative type of person is trying to isolate someone, again, they'll be talking to everybody about you in a negative way, so people will turn against you. so they'll turn away and stuff like that. And and they already know how other people, they already know how to mix and dabble and ding and everything like that to make the Kool-Aid taste good. So they'll point out and they'll harness and they'll harping on a trait that everybody can physically see in some way, shape, or form. That's what they'll point out a trait that everybody can physically see. And so when they point out that trait with what everybody can physically see, what the devil or the person would do, the narcissistic manipulative type of person, they will take that and they will run with it. And because people can see a little bit of the truth about who you truly are and stuff like that. And again, it's not even necessarily you're a negative person or anything like that. It might not be, but it's just enough that people will believe it because it's the little bit of truth that's added into the whole bunch of lies that makes it believable. Again, like the Kool-Aid. If you were just to pour all the Kool-Aid in there, people would know that you're lying. If you were just to put water in there, people will know that you're lying as a manipulator. So you got to add both of them in such a way that the people that you're around and stuff or whatever you're trying to do, that it is it tastes good to them. It actually tastes like Kool-Aid, even though it's not true. You see? So that's that purgatory truth. It's the in between. And this is how the devil typically works and operates a lot of times. The devil does not just come out to you and tell you flat out lies. What he'll do is, and how he's effective at manipulation is, he'll add in a little bit of truth with a lot of bit of lies, and people will believe it now. Because people believe in what they can see. So they're saying, okay, somebody's coming up to me and telling me this. Okay, this person must be that way. I can see that person is that way. I can see. Well, all they don't realize that they was getting pimped the whole time. They didn't realize that the person that was manipulating the whole situation, this person was, you know what I mean? This person had an agenda when they, probably even before they got together, or whatever, or the relationship started. It could be at work. It could be yada, yada, it could be anywhere. But they have already spotted and, started to make up plans and stuff like that will, occur over time. You know what I mean? And so this is what the devil does. He uses the little bit of truth to convince people of things. He uses the little bit of truth to convince people of things. He uses the fear and stuff, and now he can introduce fear and this and this and this and this and this, and he can start to control and manipulate people simply because he'll tell you a little bit of truth with a whole bunch of lies. The Kool-Aid is like the 1%. The 99% is that water, a quart of water. And the 1% of truth is the Kool-Aid. And then there's 99% of lies. But when you mix it together, people don't know the difference. They don't know the difference, so they believe that, whatever this person is telling me, this manipulative type, they don't know the person's manipulative, but they're like, what this person's telling me got to be true because I can see it right there in my face. That's how people see it, they'll believe it. And that's a negative thing and a positive thing at the same time. But most people operate, if I can see it, I'll believe it. If I can't see it, I don't believe that. I don't believe it. So this is how the devil works. So with all that being said, let me get back to this image right here. This image is so doggone important to me because it's very subtle. It's very subtle. You would think that this image is a positive thing. You're almost like, you're fighting and there's an odds. The devil's at odds with God and da 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 da. And they typically do this a lot of times. People will use certain type of traits in marketing to play on your subconscious, whether or not you know it. They'll do certain things in advertisement and in so much other stuff in movies, this, placing things or setting up cameras or setting up people in such a way is very important. It's so subtle. You might not even think it's that important. It's extremely important. It's very, very important because a lot of times that body language, the way that things are being perceived or not necessarily perceived, but the way that it's set up in such a way, that it is knowingly trying to trick people. It's normally, and a lot of times it's going to be effective, but they're normally trying to go out there and trick people, make people stumble and da 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 dee 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 dee. And in this image, you can see that the devil and God is at the same level. That's important. That's very important. Again, in marketing is important because it plays on your subconscious. It plays on your psyche. Companies, they spend billions of dollars each and every year on advertisement alone. And you be thinking, like, even McDonald's spends billions. You're like, why would McDonald's spend billions of dollars on all this? Because the market is important. That logo, that golden arch is very, very, because now a lot of times when you're thinking about McDonald's or whatever, when you see that golden arch, already know it's equivalent to McDonald's. This is why they play into the name brand, the brand or whatever, They have to pay, because now that you see that, now is certain type of feelings and things of that nature that from the symbol alone of those big golden arches. You don't. It's a big M, and a lot of times you see it more so as McDonald's than an M, if that kind of makes sense. You see it as what you've been kind of like programmed to do. And if you've had McDonald's or whatever, and you see McDonald's commercial, what they'll do is, again, the placing in the way that they do stuff is very important in marketing, because people will buy into it. The society, again, is a very, very narcissistic, dark domain, and the society is ran by narcissists a lot of times. Very, very narcissistic type of people. Not necessarily always. Don't get me wrong; they're not always, but in a lot of ways, narcissistic type of people, they are in higher places. So, but again, it's the very slight thing. That they'll do is they'll prop and they'll put up things in such a way so you can convey a certain type of message. And because we live in this narcissistic society, they push emotions. Now, why is emotionalism important? Emotionalism is important because, again, they're not trying to they tell everybody that they're doing things for the perspective that they're trying to help people, that they want to correct the wrongs of the past and stuff like that. And they're lying. They're lying through their teeth. They're not telling the truth. They're lying. They're lying their butts off. They're not out here trying to promote emotions because they truly care about the well-being of people. They're not out here trying to do it for that reason. They're out here. They're trying to do it. Not trying to. They're out here promoting emotions from the simple fact that when people are emotional, they don't think clearly. They don't think, and so it's easier to manipulate them. This is how a narcissist works. A narcissist has to keep you emotionally unbalanced, because while you're emotionally unbalanced, they can play with your mind. They get to your mind through your emotions. That's how they are effective at manipulating you. And then they got all these different they understand your past. They understand this, and this, and this, and this. And so with that, they come up with a certain blueprint, a certain plan to come at you. You understand? So, but with all that being said, they'll never let you know that like up front or nothing like that. They got to work overtime. So, um, um, but with these advertisements with McDonald's, they associate the feeling of happiness with McDonald's. So you see those golden arches, ba da ba ba ba. I'm loving it. Love is important. Like love is another thing that we associate. Ba da ba ba ba. I'm hating it. Who will buy that? I wouldn't go buy that product if they're talking about ba da ba ba ba. I'm hating it. It's like, but they use the positivity, and when they're showing you commercials and stuff like that, again, marketing is so important. The placement and stuff is extremely important, because when you see this stuff like out there, and you look on TV, and all people are smiling when they're eating McDonald's. They're happy, they're jovial, they're this, they're that. It's like the perfect couple, the perfect family. Everything is great in the commercial and stuff like that. Everybody is hell happy in the commercial. And what people want, what a lot of companies want you to do is represent or to link happiness with McDonald's. You're happy. You feel loved when you're with McDonald's. You da 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 dee 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 dee. It's very subtle, but that's how marketers work. They work on your subconscious. They don't work on your conscious mind. They work on your subconscious mind. Every time now that you see McDonald's, the feeling that you're going to get is of love, happiness, because that's what you saw online. That's what you saw. And now you're getting programmed. And now that brand is so doggone big and it's recognizable. And the brand is associated a lot of times with good things. A lot of people don't like McDonald's, yes. But McDonald's is extremely accessible. It's accessible. It's like it's no match for restaurants. It's extremely, extremely successful, you know. And they built that off of that happiness. The way that they were able to convey certain messages within commercials or whatever. The placement of items, the placement of people, the placement, all that stuff is extremely important. It doesn't seem like it's important, but it's extremely. But you got to understand that when you don't understand that, that people do these things, a lot of times you'll be caught in this purgatory truth, and you don't realize that people are trying to get up over on you. They're using a little bit of truth with a little bit of lies. People might be in McDonald's happy and stuff like that, but they might not be happy about the food. They're happy about something else, but they want you to associate happiness with McDonald's. And that's why, again, in the society, they have to keep you in an emotional state. That's how a narcissist runs. A narcissist does not run when you're in your conscious mind. A narcissist cannot just take whatever, the narcissist's overall goal is to control you, to induce fear, intimidation, this, and this, and this. That's what the devil's, or the overall goal is, to break you down so they can get inside your body and start to manipulate everything for their favor. You understand? but this is more so of a narcissistic type of this is the society. That's the devil. That's who the devil is. He's the narcissist. He's a narcissist. That's exactly what the hell he is. And he'll come disguised as anything. Again, perception is important because the devil will always come to you disguised as an angel of light. The person, he's not going to show who he truly is up front because he knows that most people will never mess with him if they knew exactly who he was up front. So they got to put on the mask for a while, and then and they'll get into your body, and again they'll start to rule over your body. Now they can control you, which is what a lot of people ultimately want to do. This is what the devil wants you to ultimately do. You understand? So the emotionalism is extremely important. It's extremely important. That's why they push it. They don't push it because they truly care about people's feelings. They push it because it's another way of silencing the truth. Again, this is one of those subtle things that they do that if you're not careful, you don't see it. What they often do is they suffocate the truth through the guys that they're trying to help and go after and like aid people. You got to understand that people who a lot of times people, the society in this world, they had to make a change at one point in their life in terms of like in the past they didn't give a damn about whether or not you liked them. They didn't, they didn't have all those different type of things. Even with slavery to a large degree, like that atrocity, to a certain degree, it's hard to do because now you're fighting with the will of other people. And how many mutinies, how many type of the France, in France, they have so many doggone revolts or revolutions and stuff like that, where they're chopping off the king's heads and all over the place. Or like you can think about this: if you're on a ship and you're the captain of the ship, your board members throw you overboard. I think it's called mutiny or whatever. They perform a mutiny and they go against you as a collective and they kick you off and stuff like that. You know, they do. I mean, they just do a lot of stuff like that all the doggone time. They, but again, in general, like what typically is going on is they need people to be emotional because if you're emotional and stuff like that, they can not only convince you but they convince other people of something, you know, and they'll take the pain that you've experienced in your past. They know the pain that you've experienced in your past, and they will use it against you. But in this society, especially in the past, they what they had to do is they understood that forcibly trying to control people was never going to work. It was never going to work because people are going to just stand up and so people in the past were trying to restrain and restrict people's physical bodies. That's what they were doing in the past, but it takes way too much energy to try to restrain and societies will crumble and fall when you operate in that manner. If you're a very wealthy person and very elite type of person, you understand that you're a big target. You're a target, and you gotta find out ways so that the public don't ever like come and attack you to take the resources that you have from you. And in a very affluent person, they understand to a large degree that they cannot fight every man. It don't matter how much money they got. It don't matter how many men. When men are upset or whatever and they're coming against them, eventually the person at the top is going to be taken out and all their resources is going to be removed from them. And so, with that being said, people in the elites at the top of the highest level, they came up with plans. Instead of trying to bond people physically, we need to bond them mentally. Bond them mentally. You hear about slave narratives in America, the American slaves, like that was one of the biggest things that they had to do. They were African or black people or who are. Actually, I want to say this. Slavery is just not confined to America. Slavery is just not confined to black people. Slavery is literally one of the oldest conventions in the world. People had slaves since the beginning of the time. Hell, the word slave came from it's from the European nation lingo or I forgot exactly where it came from. Maybe Scandinavia somewhere. But the word Slav itself is a term from Europeans. Like everybody has been enslaved, no matter what the color of your skin is. People have been enslaved throughout this life. So this is just not pertaining to America or the black people were not just the slave. In fact, a lot of times black people had white slaves in the past. It was just like that. But again, this is one of those things that they do. It's a subtle thing because they teach you about slavery. They never tell you about other people that were enslaved. They don't tell you about that. They only show you that black people were enslaved, and it's done for a reason. It's done for a reason. And when black people were brought here, a lot of times again, Another narrative that they have out there is that, white men that came to the country and just decimated everything in there and just picking up people. And it's a lie. Again, this is one of those purgatory truths. It's one of those Kool-Aid type of manipulations. And you got to understand, they got a peep game of what these people is doing. They have to get you to think a certain type of way. They have to think about you. Again, a narcissistic type of person, they have to dwell in your emotions. So they have to continuously get at you and pick at you through your emotions. If they can't do that, they will never penetrate you, and they know that. And so they try to get to know you so they can pick at whatever the hell that that is emotional towards you. You know what I mean? And so this is, I think, again, it operates in so many ways of our lives, because even when you think about from the aspect of slavery and the narratives about how slavery started in America, again, you got to understand that people will tell you a narrative, and the narrative is to induce fear. The narrative is to induce some type of control and manipulative type of power over people. That's what the narrative is for. The narrative is completely disparate from that of the truth. The truth is just the cold hard facts. Nothing, you can't hide the truth. That the truth is just the truth. You understand? But the narrative is covering up a lot of the truths, and it's done on purpose. It's done on purpose. The narrative is constructed. Again, it's constructed in a way like the Kool-Aid rule. It also puts, people tell narratives and intentionally leave things out for the simple fact that they understand how people will think. People, when there's nothing in a space, when people are telling stories and stuff like that, for most people, what will happen is a lot of times, a narcissistic type of person, they want you to live in this space where you're and not only are you confused and stuff like that, but you fill in the blanks. You let your imagination, they might be saying something and it's a whole bunch of blank spots, and they understand that most people, they're going to fill in that those blanks for themselves. You know what I mean? They're going to fill. So, with that being said, because of that reason, because people will fill in, a lot of times people will attribute whatever they go through or whatever they have and stuff like that, whatever their mindset is, they'll attribute it, and then they'll put it into that imaginary space and make up the scenarios and scenes that are far from truth. But in doing so, a lot of times we don't understand that we're being manipulated and kept in bondage because of that very reason. Because it's almost like we're making up things to fill the void of things that we don't know, or whatever happened in the past, or how there's a lot of different types of stuff like that. People might, but even with the history of how slavery and stuff like that started, because what they'll tell you is that the white Europeans just came in there and took up everybody, and that was never the truth. What the truth of the matter is in just like everywhere on the world, when resources and stuff like that, and it comes to men are going to fight and shed blood for the resources. Point blank, period. And the thing is, they don't need to do it, but that's exactly what they do, because this is the devil's domain. They feel like that's what they need to do. That's why they operate in a certain type of way. So this has happened since the beginning of time, because this is just who man is. Man has a nature. Man has a nature. Man has a way of thinking, emotions and stuff like that, despair from it. But we're essentially animals, but we have higher type of like concepts of thinking and we have higher concepts and stuff like that. Um, um, but but in general, Jesus, why can't I not think right now? Oh, but in general, like a lot of times, again, with these narratives, the truth of the matter is that people are going to fight, and there's tribal warfares. Again, people all over the world fight. They talk about black on black crime. These people literally have wars. Europeans have wars with each other, and they're talking about black on black crimes. They're laying people out by the millions, but it's another diversion tactic. It's another manipulation tactic. They need to keep you to make you sure that you think that you are a terrible person. Lord, look at all the black on black crime. Okay, what about the white on white crime? You know what I mean? But they do that because, again, they want to continue this perpetual state and understanding that these people are criminals. These people are absolute criminals. But getting back to the story with the slaves, what truly happened was there were tribal warfares. Two ethnic groups are going at it. You know what I'm talking about with the ethnic groups. You could think of like an ethnic group is like the Bloods and the Crips. They got a certain type of way how they move. They got a certain type of way how they do things. That they d. If you an Anglo-Saxon person, you don't know what the heck I'm talking about when I'm saying with Bloods and Crips. Hell, if you a black, this, that, or whatever case, it's not just Anglo-Saxon, but if you, in any case, you could join a fraternity, sorority. You can join a group. You could do, to a certain degree, you would join something. Again, it's for self-identity and all that different type of stuff. But These ethnic groups, that's how they kind of like operate. They're like two different, almost like two different societies. Sometimes two ethnic groups don't even speak the same language, but they right next to each other. And so there's a lot of tribal warfare. And so with that being said, because of this tribal warfare and anything and everything, we forget to realize that we're in the real world. The world, in America, we are very, very cozy. So we don't have to deal with the real world problems like that. But one of the hardest and the one of the most horrible things that and atrocities that you know about slavery or tribal warfare is a lot of times the losing war, the tribe that lost the war, or the people that lost the war, the nation, the country. A lot of times, their women and kids are going to be taken, and they're gonna assimilate those women and kids, through very negative means. And then they'll kill off all the man more than likely, unless the man is very profitable and not a threat to the tribal group that is there, or not perceived to be a threat. Maybe they be a thinker or something like that. A lot of times, people who win the war, the generals and stuff like that, the nation that won the war, they typically will allow men that are, that they perceive to be harmless. If they perceive that person to be harmless or very, very beneficial, they'll keep that person alive. Before everybody else, they'll kill them off and take the women and kids, and they'll assimilate them into their society. So this is what was going on at that time. And so with these tribal warfares, another thing that they'll do once that tribal warfare, is ended in the winning side, again, they'll take the women and kids and they'll enslave them a lot of times. They'll enslave them and the men. Slavery, that's what I'm talking about. Slavery is an old convention. So with that being said, the tribal chiefs and stuff like that, when they won that war, they took the people, the villagers, the people that were the ethnic group that lost the war, they would take them. And at the time, with this slave trade and stuff, like the American slave trade was starting to kick up, or the nationwide, the international slave trade with imports for people of Africa. These people were already slaves in their own nation. And so what happened was it was like a chain of command where the tribal war was beating people. Then they would take these people, the enslaved people, to the conquistadors. The conquistadors would then take them to the Europeans on the shore, and the white shore Europeans were able to just like sell off wherever they need to be. Not only them, but the Spaniards, and it's everybody literally all over the world. But it's not just like it's not just like European, but it was other nations too. But like they were taking the tribal war. Tribal chiefs were selling their enemies, their rivals, into slavery for other like benefits that the Europeans or the conquistadors had. They were selling these people into slavery. And why is this so important? Because again, I think this is a purgatory truth where people will fail to realize a lot of times we give so much power to other people that they don't ever deserve. But this is what they want you. That's what they want you to imagine. They want to leave you with certain holes and gaps in your head so you can fill up the space. They want you to think that they are superior or this or that or whatever the case may be. That's what they really want you to do. And so they'll purposefully, and it's a manipulation tactic. So they'll purposefully not tell you a lot of stuff for the simple fact that they want you to fill in the blanks as well as what they're saying. They already coaxed it and they made it into a narrative that's going to be beneficial for them. And this is if people buy into it, it's manipulation. Because now we believe that Europeans are just these almighty, powerful, omniscient people that they were able just to, no, that's not the case whatsoever. That's not what the case. We give people too much power. That's not what happened. These people are not like people are not. They didn't just Europeans did not just walk into Africa and just start grabbing people. Like, are you crazy? I don't give a damn how small the nation is. And a prime example, it doesn't matter what the opposing nature that everybody might perceive one nation to be powerful, so much more powerful, so much more highly technically advanced, so much da 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 da. They have higher troops. They have like this, like if they were to war against a smaller country, it would be no match whatsoever. But again, this little reality or this lies that people have been telling people, this manipulative type of tool to believe that that somebody is just so strong and powerful and mighty that that anybody that opposes them will just roll over is a lie. It doesn't matter how small the nation is. If the people are fighting back, it doesn't matter. You see this continuously in America, or like at least in America, because I know a lot more about America, but they underestimated their opponents so much. They underestimated, and they got they butt waz. So if you look at this example with in the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, somewhere in there, when the Vietnam War was going on, that war was so atrocious in the sense that, a lot of times we thought that Americans thought that war was nothing. They thought that a lot of people didn't want to go into Vietnam, first off. But a lot of people thought, hey, let's just go in there and just take their stuff. What they going to do? They Vietnam. Look how small they are. Look, and we have more technology. We have far better we have far better, all that different type of stuff. We're going to these people are just going to roll over. And that is not what happened. America went into Vietnam and got that ass. Wah, zah, 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 zut. That's exactly what the heck happened. They went in there and they got that ass whooped because they thought that they were just going to beat the Vietnamese people, because the Vietnamese people, is a smaller group of people. They're not as advanced in certain technologies. But what the Vietnamese people had, and what they had at their advantage that was extremely important, is the terrain itself. They used military or guerrilla warfare as a way to dismantle the American government, the American army and stuff like that, and rid them and have America lose that war. Even though America, this is about the 60s, 50s, you would think that America would have just run up over Vietnam, but that was not what happened. The Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, they were making like little caches underground. They were putting mines and stuff like that. They were setting up different type of traps. If you know what I'm talking about with guerrilla warfare, when I'm talking about guerrilla warfare, you think about a gorilla. A gorilla is up in the jungle. The gorilla is moving around. And if you're in a very highly dense, leafy area, like it's just a lot of trees or greenery or whatever, plants, vegetation, whatever you want to say, a lot of times that gorilla, even though it's big and huge, it can still hide. And the gorilla knows how to operate in that area. And if you're not familiar with that area or something like that, and you can't, the gorilla will tear you to smithereens. I mean, the gorilla will already hurt you on a what, but the gorilla will tear you to smithereens, because now the gorilla has so many different type of advantages. Even though you might have a gun, that damn gorilla don't care. That gorilla will still get you if you're not careful. That gorilla will still get you. And this is what I'm talking about with guerrilla warfare, where people, you can't see them. In other wars, people could see their opponent. You know what I mean? And this does not make Vietnam cowardly or anything. Like, it makes them completely genius in what they've done. They created caches underground. They were laying mines and traps all over the place. If people, like a lot of times, the American soldiers, they had to go in and they had to go. If they found one of these underground caches where there was weapons, food, and stuff like that, people were living in there. But they sent Americans up in there. And the Americans were dying left and right. I forgot what the name was called, but it's people who were burrowing into these caches that the Vietnamese had made. And again, a lot of times there was booby traps down there. Sometimes people got, the walls and stuff like that collapsed. Sometimes people got suffocated. It was such a tight squeeze, but the Vietnamese knew what they were doing. Sometimes there was like other animals and stuff like that are natural to Vietnam. They were in those caches and people died like that. Every tactic that they used was very effective, and the American government could not fight it off. And ultimately they lost. Even though they had more advanced weapons, they had more they lost. And again, this is that purgatory truth, because people will believe, because this person got all the power and stuff like that right now, that they're so powerful that I can never beat them. That's a couple of lies. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to think. It's that purgatory truth. It's the purgatory truth. It's the Kool-Aid. It's the Kool-Aid of manipulation. It's Kool-Aid manipulation. That's what it is. It's Kool-Aid manipulation. Because if you think that a person, your opponent, is so big and bad and that you'll never be able to defeat them, you're done. You're done. The same thing with the story with like David and Goliath. David was real small. David was so scrawny. He was very, very small and scrawny. And people, when these two were in camps, I don't know I think it was the Israelites versus, I don't know what the doggone, I don't forget, but it was just essentially two different type of ethnic groups. It was David was on one side and Goliath was on the other one. Now Goliath was huge, strong, and he was the best warrior. And sometimes when two nations are warring against each other, what they will do is they'll take their two best soldiers, and those two soldiers will duke it out. Whoever shed blood or whatever the case may be, whoever killed the other person or whatever, that nation would win whatever type of conflict that was going on prior to them battling out. So two of the best soldiers from each nation will come together and war against each other, and whoever the victor is, that nation will win. And so when they came up with Goliath was a big, strong, and David was a little small, scrawny little boy. But David still took him out. He took the slingshot and swung it and hit him in the head and killed him. Cut off his head afterwards. And people may or may not believe that that's true. I actually do believe that that's true. I do believe that that's true. But people will underestimate, and people will, you know what I mean? Like the perception is that the Goliath had it in the bag. He was never and most of the soldiers were extremely afraid to fight him. Not most of them, a good chunk, meaning like, of the camp that was opposing their camp, they were terrified of going against, and they didn't want to do it. They did, and it was the scrawny little one that did it and took him down. Why am I saying all that? Because again, it's the perception. The manipulation is built into a perception of what's going on. It's a perception. And I've gotten so far off this topic, but now with all that being said, if you look at this image right here, the perception right here is that God and the devil is at equal odds. Now, I'm not saying that these two are actually, I'm not saying that this person represents God or anything like that. I am just simply using it from the perspective of I'm trying to just get at this point, you know. But if you notice this right here, they're at the same level, which is a lie. Again, is a lie. This image shows it will make you believe that God and the devil have equal amount of power. That's not the truth whatsoever. That's not the truth. They're wrestling. It's almost like they're in a competition with one another. But the fact of the matter is, there's no competition between God and the devil. There's never been any competition between God. God needs to go to, the devil needs to go to God to do anything. Anything. God has to grant it. If God doesn't grant it, it never happens. It never happens. But the devil wants you to perceive it as I'm just as powerful as God, and you better listen to me. When in actuality, he has no power whatsoever. But this image right here, though I understand, I'm not, people might be like, oh, you're reading too much into it. No, 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 no. You're not reading too much into it. You're not, because this is one of those imagery we don't understand that plays on our subconscious. This plays on our subconscious. You might think that is small. It's not. They're showing it as a competition between God and the devil. They're showing it that they're at the same levels. They were never on the same level. They were never. But again, because of this purgatory truth, because of this Kool-Aid rule of manipulation, you would think that this is a positive for God, that the devil is not going to win. You know what I mean? But the thing is that they're not equally yoked. The devil would never win. The devil has no power whatsoever. None, not a shred of it. The only power that the devil has is manipulation. That's all he has is the power of manipulation. He's a narcissist. He's a narcissist through and through. That's all he is. But but with all that being said, you know, this is just what I want to talk about. It's just like this imagery, and I think that in general we have to be really careful about what the heck we're looking at and stuff like that. Understanding that people don't just do things. People do not just do things for no reason. You know what I mean? Like most people, especially elites, they never do anything for no reason whatsoever. I don't know if you've ever heard of this term called everything is political. And what they mean with that is a lot of times, whether or not you know it, again, it's this Kool-Aid method of a rule of these purgatory truths. Politicians or people like that who wants to be in positions of authority and power and stuff like that, they will only give you so much so that you believe in them. And at the same time, it's like they're hiding their dirt. But they'll use whatever you're going through and stuff like that. They'll use a purgatory. They use this on black people. They use this on women. They use it because a lot of black people, a lot of women, a lot of have gone through pain in the past. They're promoting and they're going in on white men now, and they're claiming the justification for the treatment that white men or other people or men in general or women in certain areas, people who are, they'll say that the justification as to why these people are being treated because they were oppressive to people in the past. And so we have to right our wrongs we have to do an injustice by being, our justice is serving an injustice. And you got to be weary of that, because it's like, why would they allow that to happen? Things need to be balanced on this earth. When things are not balanced, you really got to look at something is off. If things are not balanced and things do not add up, something is off. You better take the time to step back and observe that. You better take the time back. You better take the time, step back and observe that there's something is off here. If the system is unbalanced, it's unbalanced. The devil and God, they do not have the same power. I mean, they don't have the same. The devil has to go to God. It's not a contest. It's not even a competition. You know what I mean? I'm not, and again, I'm not trying to just get on the person that made this. This is because this is a great image and everything like that. All I'm trying to get at is the imagery, the way that they place things, the way that they operate in very covert, manipulative type of manners. They will give you a little bit. The politicians and stuff like that, they will give you a little bit, but because they want to get into office, they will use the pain that you've been going through as a person, and they'll use it against you with no intentions of actually coming through on whatever they're saying. That's what politicians do all the time. They see that, okay, well, women are in this type of distress. Okay, we're going to say all this stuff for women that I don't really believe, but I know if I say it, they're going to give me their vote. Oh, I see these black people are going through this, and this. I don't really necessarily believe in that, but as long, if they believe it or whatever, I can get their vote if I can just play like I'm on their side. You got this stuff like within the inner workings of black people too. Like, it's not just, this is not about black and white. I never want to try, like, because I don't think this stuff is real. Again, race is another. This is another one real quick before I get up off here, because I know. But this is the very, very last one where I'm talking about with the imagery. Again, you got to understand how important these narratives and stuff like that is, because it shapes you. The very smallest of details, if you're not careful, if you're overlooking it, it's going to be your downfall. You'll be confused as to why things are occurring in your life. You'll be very, very much confused. You're just like, dude, this don't make that much sense. But when you take a step back, a lot of times it does make sense. But golly, what I was just about to say.